and I want to welcome our candidate, our moderator, J.D. Salinas, and all of you out there who are watching on Facebook and who will be watching on our website and Facebook up until the time of the election on March 1. So welcome to our Futura RGV Forum for our Republican candidates for the office of Hidalgo County Judge. And on this Martin Luther King Day, Futura RGV hopes to educate and inform our Hidalgo County voters on the importance of your vote in determining the future of our Hidalgo County. And throughout our nation's history, our leaders, such as Dr. Martin Luther King, and all of those servicemen and women who have fought and died for our right to vote, we honor them, and we hope that you will take very seriously the sacrifices they made so that you have the right to vote. So I'd like to thank our sponsors. Let's see, Rhodes Enterprises, AT&T, Sam Garcia Architect, Frost Bank, IBC Bank, Clark Chevrolet, L&F Distributors, Valley Land Title, Rio Bank, DHR Health, Ernie Williams, and our in-kind sponsors, Copy Zone, Upper Valley Mail Service, and CSL Productions. And of course, that's one of our in-kind sponsors, Milo Rodriguez, who's back there recording this so that you can see it. I also want to thank Stephen Wingert, Gabriel Ramirez, Matt Sustenta. Did I pronounce it right, Matt? More or less? All right, thank you. And Ryan Henry of AIM Media. AIM Media is the owner of the Brownsville Herald and the Monitor, and they have allowed us to use their technical expertise and their facilities in order to bring these forums to you. So Futuro aims to educate and inform our voters, our communities of the things that affect our quality of life, and certainly our political system and our candidate forums do just that. So with that, I will turn it over to J.D. Salinas, our moderator.
Thank you, Dr. Knurk, and thank you for Futura RGV for hosting a series of forums to educate the Rio Grande Valley
Hello.
and some of our residents.
I ask you to be in the hall,
Ms.
please.
Cross, thank you for being here. And
Yes, Dr.
thank
Flores,
you.
we have
appreciate it.
already started.
So we'll start with first
can you
question
be
here.
Soon?
Besides the people in our community, what do you see
Well,
as Hidalgo
Are you
County's
at
single
the front
biggest
door?
asset?
I have somebody at the front door.
Can I have a,
Sure.
The
can I
front
say
door
something? Can
is
I
on
say who I am
Nirvana.
first?
Sure, right before you answer the question.
Oh, okay.
Well,
You're gonna
I will
introduce
let you
yourself
in.
as an opening
I asked
statement
you to
and
wait
answer
out
the
here,
question.
and I would
Oh,
appreciate
okay.
it if
Okay,
you'd do it.
besides the people in our community, what do you see as Hidalgo County's
Well, I don't see you at the
single
front
biggest
door.
asset and our single greatest concern? And how would you lead to address this concern?
Well, that's
You can
why
go ahead and
on
start with an opening statement
that's
and answer
why
the
on
question.
the
Okay, so I hope
email
people
sent
can
you,
remember
I
what
said
the
the front
question is
door.
after I tell them
All
who
right,
I am.
there's
remind
someone here who will let you in. All right,
My
thank
name is
you.
Jane Cross, and I'm running for Hidalgo County Judge as a Republican. This is my second time to run. The reason I ran the first time is because I believe that no one should just win in the primary. There needs to be two sides to every coin. There needs to be an opposition to give people a choice. I have a communications master's, and I've been in business for longer than I care to tell you. It's just been a long time. So I'm running again because, again, before I knew that Dr. Flores was going to join us, nobody was running against the opposition in the Democrats, and that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to stand up and give people a choice. So what do I think Hidalgo County's the best?
What do you think the county's biggest asset
Okay.
and our single greatest concern, and how would you address it?
Okay, well, first of all, our Hidalgo County's biggest asset are our people. We've got some awesome people with some awesome credentials that have done some awesome things, and I don't think we're tapping into what really the county has to offer. I just think that we've been stifled a lot, but, like, I don't want to use the C word. It used to be the C word was cancer, but now the other one, it's the other one, and I refuse to use that. I think that, you're supposed to follow the science. I don't think that we've done that. So what was the second part of the question? I'm sorry, Mr. Salinas?
What would you do? What was the biggest asset, and what is the greatest concern, and how would you how would you address the concern?
Okay, the concern is I think our freedoms are being taken away just by not opening up the courthouse, by mandating things that don't need to be mandated. I'm really concerned about the mask. I'm really concerned about our justice, our oh God, what was it? Justice of the peace. I'm really concerned about them. There's 9 of them, and nobody answers the phone. And so that's what really started me on this thing again, is
Okay.
that a friend of mine's husband passed away and
Yeah, okay.
nothing happened. We waited 4 hours. My friend was out in her yard with her T-shirt on, and, they couldn't find
the
him.
camera.
So
Please go back.
Thank you.
couldn't find one. So what would I do? I would centralize the justice, the justice of the peace, because if the county pays you, then you should do your job. And then the taxes are a problem, and you can do a negative tax rate. So
Well, thank you.
No.
And now we welcome Dr. Esmeralda Flores. Hi, Dr. Flores. How are you?
Hi.
How are you? Nice
Good
to
to
see
see
you. Nice to
you.
see you, man. Nice to see you. Dr. Flores, Ms. Cross just answered the first question, and then the way we'll let you get settled in. The way we're gonna open this discussion, this forum up, is to give you about a minute and a half to introduce yourself and also answer a question about what do you see as Hidalgo County's biggest asset and our biggest concern in Hidalgo County, and how would you lead to address this concern?
Can I have a little bit?
No problem. No problem.
Let me just take a drink.
So this would be an opening question. It's a minute and a half to answer, and you can take your time. And then as we go on, we're going to take turns on who answers the question first. So the next
no
question.
problem.
Okay?
Excuse me.
No problem.
I was under all weekend, but I still made it. I spent enough time resting so that I could make it tonight, and I'm glad that I did. And thank you for having me tonight. I appreciate the community being involved and wanting to see what's going on in Hidalgo County. I'm honored to be part of this forum. This is something that I hadn't really intentionally thought about doing until it happened. And when it did, I was glad that it did, because I want to be able to make a difference in this county. One of the concerns that I have is the poverty in this county. We're one of the largest counties in the United States, and yet we're one of the poorest counties in the United States, and that concerns me, the poverty. I've been an educator for 34 years. I was a high school teacher for 20 years. I was out there in the trenches with my students. I was out there in the trenches with parental involvement that I was able to do for a couple of years. And those are some of the things that I bring into the plate. I would like to see different things in this county. First of all, infrastructure. I believe that when you have a really good infrastructure system in line, it invites businesses to come into the cities, into the county, and make a difference. Another thing that I have a concern about are the taxes, that the taxes need to be lowered. Like, what is happening to all these monies that come in, federal money, state monies, and I want to be able to lower our taxes. I want to be able to have better educational opportunities, and those are some of my platforms tonight, and I hope I've answered the question.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
And we'll start again with you, since she answered the first question. Dr. Flores, how would you mentioned poverty in Hidalgo County. Tell me, in Hidalgo County, you're county judge, what would you do to address the poverty in Hidalgo County? What ideas would you bring to the county judge's office?
Okay. I want to say something, but I can't. Okay. This is several years ago. Anyway, I believe as an educator that education is the biggest equalizer there is. When a person gets a bachelor's degree, automatically you become middle class. And you become middle class, and so you have access to everything that middle class America has access to. So in my opinion, I say that's one component. Another very, very important component is to go out there into the trenches and find out what are the people saying, what are they thinking, what do they need. And I've been doing that. And as I go out there in the communities, giving out my push cards, it's amazing the things that these people are concerned about. And that concerns me.
Thank you. Ms. Cross, how would you address poverty in Hidalgo County as county judge?
I know that there are several entities within the county that have grants. We have grants that take care of. They help with electricity. They help with groceries. There's the name escapes me right now, but there's a whole division that has grants that they do all this to. And they have been doing a lot of it, and the grants that come in are well managed by the county. Poverty, I think one of the biggest things that people have a problem with is the drainage. There's a drainage problem. And what happens is that towns and different people put in drainage backwards. And I'm not going to say how I know this, but I live really close to Tres Lagos. I call it un lago because the drainage was put in backwards.
Thank you. We'll go with the next question with you, Ms. Cross. Hidalgo County is not in an island. As you know, we try to work together with other counties in the Rio Grande Valley. With a variety of partners to move the county forward, what is your approach to building coalitions of various interests to increase our prosperity?
You mean with the other counties or
any interest groups or anything else? What would you do to build coalitions to make Hidalgo County a better county?
Well, you have to go out and meet the people. You have to meet the county judges of Willacy County, Cameron County, Starr County. We need to, if you do that, the county judges get together and they decide drainage problems. There needs to be a countywide, and drainage, as you know, runs towards the beach. And so sometimes you have to ask Cameron and Willacy because that's where the flow of water lies. So you have to build coalitions that, we need to drain through your counties. But, if you get enough grants and stuff, and we've been given millions and millions of dollars worth of grants for drainage. I just don't know what happened to it.
Thank you. Ms. Flores, Dr. Flores, what would you do to build coalitions to make Hidalgo County a better county?
That's a very good question, and I like that question. I like that question because there's so many things that can be done. I was just thinking about the drainage, like you were saying. Like my precinct is precinct 3. And out there in the rural areas and the rural roads, you see people dumping refrigerators, stoves, things like that. And I think if only my particular commissioner from my precinct would make like some really big commercial bins to go throw all that trash. So when it rains, it doesn't stop the drainage and become a big problem. So I thought, that's probably, even though it seems very insignificant, I feel like that could be one of the answers as far as the drainage is concerned. As far as going out and reaching out to the different counties, especially the cities, especially the water districts, so that we can all be in a coalition. I have a cousin that's, he used to be the fire chief for Cameron County, and we were talking about this. And Esmer, he says, if we were to get the cities involved and see what's going on with them, with their water, their drainage, that's a big step.
Thank you. We couldn't see because of the computer.
Thank you.
Dr. Flores, how would you have handled the start of the COVID pandemic when it started in the beginning of 2020? Would you have mandated lockdowns, or what would you be doing now?
Oh, no, absolutely no lockdowns. I am conservative. I'm running Republican for the Hidalgo County judge. We don't believe in the prosperity of the county being stopped. So I would not have handled it in the way that it was handled.
Thank you. Ms. Cross, how would you have handled the COVID pandemic and when it started in the beginning of 2020? Would you have mandated a lockdown, and what would you be doing now?
I wouldn't have locked down. If it was a lockdown, it would have been for that 2 weeks that everybody freaked out. And then it would have been, no, you need to develop herd immunity. And that is just shown now that herd immunity is really working. There's all kinds of things that, we were having problems with ivermectin. Everybody freaked out because of ivermectin. Ivermectin works. Vitamin D works. But you don't hear about this. In India, they're giving out packets, and they're saving thousands, millions of lives because they're giving out an $8 packet with vitamin D, ivermectin, Z-Packs. And we're so concerned about testing to see if you have it. Why don't we know who's well?
Thank you, Ms. Cross. The Hidalgo County Commissioners Court is held every week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Would you change the meetings to at least 5 o'clock for those that can't make it during working hours?
You want me to go or Esmer?
We'll go with you first.
Okay. I've been thinking about that, and 10 o'clock on a Tuesday is a horrible time for some people that, would like to come before the county and talk. So, a 5 o'clock to me would be a lot better. But there's probably other things to take into consideration. But I think a later time at night, towards night, would probably be better for the people of the county. Plus, I'm just thinking that people really, sometimes they do care and then sometimes they don't. But it would be sure easier if, now school kids have a problem. Maybe you could switch. So if you have a school people that want to come and get, certificates that the county gives certificates to, we have an early meeting. I don't think it needs to be so rigid that, you can't go with what the county needs.
Thank you. Dr. Flores, Hidalgo County Commissioners Court is every week at 10 o'clock on Tuesdays, which is inconvenient for most citizens. Would you change the time of the meetings at least 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
Definitely. We're about the county. We're about the community. We pay taxes. Our taxes are being increased for the past 3-4 years. Why not? What's this business of doing it at 10 o'clock in the morning when everybody's working, when everybody's at school? I've been to a commissioner's court meeting like about a month ago, and there was like maybe 5 people in the audience, and I'm like, what? Here's a commissioner's court with about 5 people in the audience. Who are they addressing anything to as far as the public is concerned? So yes, I would definitely agree with 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Do you believe there's a need of a Veterans Hospital in Hidalgo County? If so, how would you, as county judge, bring a VA to Hidalgo County?
Well, Mr. Salinas, I was just with Governor Abbott the week before last when he came to announce his candidacy at the McAllen Convention Center. And he did an excellent speech about what he is doing for the state, what he's doing for Hidalgo County. And he has excellent, I wrote them all down. There was all these things that's good for our county. That's good for our county. He's giving this money for this. He's giving this money for that. I made a list about this big. And then I go, some of those things that he's already mandated to the state of Texas, we need to implement them and put them accountable. That if those monies are given, why are the taxes going higher? If all those monies have already been given, we need to see the accountability of where they're going and if they're doing everything they say they're supposed to be doing.
So do you believe there should be a Veterans Hospital in Hidalgo
Yes.
County?
Yes. Yes, there is.
And you would support that as county
And
judge?
I would definitely 100% support that.
Thank you. Do you believe there's a need, Ms. Cross, for a Veterans Hospital in Hidalgo County? And as county judge, how would you help to make sure that happens?
There's always been a need for a veterans hospital in the Valley in Hidalgo County. However, if you can't get the monies for it, I think there should be some kind of reciprocal meetings for reciprocal assets. So that's not the right word, but you could go to different hospitals and they should know that the veterans should come first. So there's monies for that, and monies get paid to the hospitals for veterans. I think it should just be made easier for them.
Thank you.
But you got to go and talk to the, you got to go talk to the hospitals and check them out. And I'm going to be talking to them about the justice of the peace. We're going to borrow some people too.
So you're saying you do support a veterans hospital? in
I
Hidalgo
do
County.
support the veterans. The veterans get the short of the stick and everything.
Thank you. Both of you have been running now for a couple of months, if not more. What endorsements have you received, and are there any that you are anticipating? Ms. Cross.
Me? No, I'm not anticipating any endorsements. I have not gone out and said, "Hey, will you endorse me?" I have just gone out and done what I know to do. Most people know me. It's kind of like 6 degrees from Kevin Bacon. Everybody knows Jane Cross. So, it's true. So I thought, man, I know her. But to get endorsements, people are going to say, they can say they're going to endorse you, but what they say and what they do are a totally different thing. It's like signs. Those stupid signs that are up and down the roads that cause wrecks and fly out, and it looks like eye trash. And every time I drive by and they're all knocked over, I just laugh and smile because they have to go set them up and I don't. So,
Thank you, Ms. Cross. Dr. Flores, what endorsements have you received? Are there any you are anticipating?
That's a very heavy-duty question. If that's something that a person is really looking forward to, up until this day, it has been all my monies. Okay, I've been given 2 donations. It was one very random when I first filed, and another one that was offered to me this weekend, which I wasn't even expecting whatsoever. And I just feel like I wish I was had. President Trump's billionaires' money so that I wouldn't have to ask anybody of anything, because I would just run on my own principles and my own values and my own morals and the conservative values that I stand for. So I'm not really looking forward to that because, like she said, those endorsements, sometimes they come out, sometimes they don't. This is the first time that I run into a public office, and I don't really understand how all that works, but I'm happy where I'm at.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. You mentioned President Trump. Do you believe the 2020 presidential election was stolen by the Democrats, and why or why not?
The valley has been blue for 100 years. And right before I came here, yes, it was. And right before I came here, I was speaking to one of the candidates, and he was blowing my mind away by all the corruption that he's telling. Well, so-and-so is doing this. So-and-so has this consulting firm, and they get $25,000 a month from this business or from that consulting. And I was like, are you real? Am I that naive that I don't realize a lot of these things that are happening? And he was blowing me away, and I'm like, the more I need to run.
So you do believe the Democrats stole the 2020 presidential election?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Definitely, 100%.
Ms. Cross, do you believe the presidential election in 2020 was stolen by the Democrats? Why or why not?
Yes, I do. Right now, Wisconsin is showing that they're not going to accept mail-in ballots anymore. So I think that really shows that there's so many things can go wrong with mail-in ballots. There's just too many things that can go wrong. Even with our own Hidalgo County elections, I don't know if with the new software that they have, but with the old software, a friend of mine who, Leslie Gower, who is a big-time Democrat, big. She was in charge of the Democratic Party and precinct chairs. Her and her son proved that it was statistically impossible for all of the voting to come out heavy 30, light 60, heavy 60, light 30. So it was a one-third to two-thirds ratio most of the time, and that's statistically impossible. And that's not a Republican saying that. That was a Democrat saying that.
So, Ms. Cross, as Hidalgo County judge, you would have an opportunity to be involved in the election. The voting laws this last session changed those voting laws.
Yes.
And it allowed for voters to cure any problems of absentee ballot requests and absentee ballots. 50% of the mail ballots being mailed in today have some issue or another. What steps would you take to ensure that the elections office does contact these voters to go ahead and cure the ballot?
Man, it's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. Before I would do that, I would probably not have people camp out in front of all these polling places because it's dangerous. I mean, you get assaulted by when you go in to vote. They're wanting to throw things at you and chase you down. What I would do is, a friend of mine, her husband died, like I said earlier, and she called the voting place and had to beg him to take him off the roll. Said, he has passed away. I don't want him to be on the rolls anymore. He doesn't need to vote because he is dead. And I mean, and I have a death certificate. So what do I do? And it was literally an act of Congress to get him taken off the rolls.
Thank you. Ms. Flores, the new Texas law of elections administrators to contact voters to cure the problem with absentee ballot requests and absentee ballots. Senator Hughes, this last legislative session, took steps to make sure that absentee ballots would have an extra numbers to make sure they get counted. What steps would you take to ensure that elections office does contact these voters to make sure and cure these mail ballots?
Traditionally, here in the RGV in South Texas, a lot of the elections are won during early voting. We all know that. And we all know, too, that the mail-ins were a big problem. And I wish we could follow Wisconsin and do that. The absentee voting is something to really be looked at. And I believe that the elections district, clerk has to address that and make the changes that are necessary for there to be more accountability with the absentee voting.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Go ahead. As county judge, you'd be the chair of the election commission. What would you do, Ms. Cross?
What would I do? You'd hate to say this, but you need to go one by one and just go through the saying, is this person dead or alive? Check their data. And it's a massive undertaking. But if you do it a little bit at a time, say you do 500 a week, and just start chipping away at it. But it has to be something forefront in the front of the election department's mind.
In-house.
Ms. Flores, anything to add to that? As a county judge, you'd be the elections administrator. You'd be the chair of the election commission. What would you do to change
That's a very
that?
big responsibility and a lot of power to be able to make a difference, a good difference. And yes, I agree with her. I agree with Ms. Cross that says, let's take it a little bite at a time, 500 at a time, 500 another time. And I think that we would even maybe form some kind of coalitions out there in the community in a volunteer basis where someone could oversee that and say, let's have some accountability here. These were the ground rules. This is what we're looking for. Come up with an answer. Let's all come together, dialogue, and see what we can come up with.
Sure.
Also, there's these things that the politicados, I don't know if y'all are familiar with the politicados. The ones that go out and they take ballots and go to all these different places and they get them to sign stuff and they have no idea. And when I ran the last time, somebody said, if for $1,000 you could have this city. And I went, oh. Okay.
But Ms. Cross,
I freaked out. And so, but you would have to be careful about who you give your mail out ballots to. You just can't go by and pick them up and say, hey, I'll go to the nursing homes and have it done.
But Senate Bill 4, this last session, allowed for, it requires, Senator Hughes said, it requires you to have a driver's license number and a social security number on the mail ballot. Do you think that's enough for the mail ballots to have?
No.
What would you do, Ms. Flores, to correct that? What else would you add? What other security would you have so that make sure that I'm a hard-paying taxpayer, so that my vote would be counted? What other securities would you add to that? If you had an opportunity to meet with Senator Hughes today, what would you tell him to add to Senate Bill 4?
Is that Brian Hughes?
Yes.
Yeah, he's my friend. I would make a phone call with him because he's my friend when I lived in Austin.
And what would you add to the bill?
And I would dialogue with him. And I say, Brian Hughes, what do you want us to do down here in the valley? Because we have a problem. and I need to adhere to you. You is first as my personal friend, and then for authoring that bill, we need to work together with this. Give me your ideas.
Ms. Cross, what would you add to Senate Bill 4, and what would you tell Senator Hughes to add to that?
Well, I think mail-in ballots were for people that were invalid.
Yes.
And that were for in rest homes and people that could not physically come in. Also, the mail-in ballot, sometimes I'm not real sure, but now they have drive-throughs. So if you have somebody, you can, it's like drive-through to vote. Well, that was for people that couldn't get out of the car. And it became that was like, well, I just don't want to go in and vote, so I'll just drive through. And there needs to be,
Is abused.
I mean, voting is a privilege.
This last legislative session took care of curbside voting and drive-through voting. So if you had another opportunity to safeguard ballots, what would you do?
I would make sure that if you have to have a reason behind getting a mail-in ballot. You just can't say, well, I'm going to be out of the country. Well, if it is, where's your plane ticket? Why aren't you going to be here? There's early voting. You have to have a reason before you get a mail-in ballot.
Thank you. Which infrastructure issue are you most concerned about in addressing Hidalgo County, Ms. Flores? And what would you do to improve that infrastructure issue?
We all know that in the infrastructure system, that Elon Musk gave $20 million to the county of Cameron County. He saw the importance of building his space city, and he saw the importance of giving $20 million to Cameron County. I understand that somewhere along the circle, in the in-betweens, there is some cities here in the Hidalgo County that were being considered for Elon Musk to bring in some of his gigabytes base that he has in Austin now, and that was being considered in Hidalgo County. And there were some things that were involved there with him that made him say, oh no, I'm not going to do this. And that to me was very disturbing. And I wouldn't put it past by me to go and look for Elon Musk and say, come back to Hidalgo County. We can get petitions going. We can get you to come here because we are a very poor county and we need you.
Ms. Cross, what infrastructure issue is most important to Hidalgo County, and how would you take care of improve that infrastructure?
Like I said earlier, the most important part is the drainage issue. I mean, there are places in Donna, Weslaco, Edinburgh, San Carlos. There's so many people, and a lot of times they don't know that water runs downhill. I hate to say this, but I'll drive by and see, the workers that aren't cleaning out ditches, that are taking surveys, and I'm going, what are you doing? Oh, we're working for the drainage. I said, you guys know it runs downhill, and they start laughing. And I know that's so simplistic, but half the time, it wouldn't even take a whole lot, but we need culverts under the road, people just cleaning them out. There is a drainage ditch really close to my house that turns right, and the drainage ditch is right there. I mean, these are simple fixes, and it just takes somebody going out and doing it one road at a time.
Ms. Cross, on January 1st, 2023, you won the election, you're getting sworn in. What is the top 3 priorities for you as you become county judge in the next 4 years?
The top 3 would be try to lower the tax rate. We have over 300,000 new houses coming in, with more houses being built, and trying to lower the tax rate. We have the highest tax rate in the state and the poorest. I have notes receivable from people, and we escrow monies for taxes, and it keeps going up and going up. It is a burden to the low-income person, these taxes. And it's amazing how the appraisal district has all these wonderful, fine new cars, and you ask the appraisal district, what about this? They tell you the county tells you the appraisal district. The second would be the justice of the peace. Answer the damn phone. And that's a whole nother story. And then the third would be drainage.
Okay. Ms. Flores, January 1st, 2023, you've become county judge. What are your top 3 priorities to work on as county judge?
I sort of agree with what Ms. Cross is saying as far as drainage. Because you see it on the news. You see it on the news every day, people complaining. In this county, the drainage. We need help with the drainage. At the very beginning of our conversation, I mentioned, those big commercial bins where we can go in the rural areas and the rural roads and throw those big refrigerators, stoves, everything, and put it in those bins and not stop the drainage. So when it rains and then there's a drainage, that's a big one. That's a big one. Infrastructure, we need to bring in more businesses into Hidalgo County so that we can prosper. Okay, so the lowering of the taxes, I agree with what she said, and those would be my 3 platforms that I would definitely address to begin with.
Thank you, Dr. Flores.
You're welcome.
What are your qualifications for county judge, and would you be a full-time county judge?
I am a retired teacher of 34 years. I have a bachelor's degree in education, a master's degree in educational administration, and I have a PhD in counseling. I went to the University of Texas in Austin. I went to Our Lady of the Lake. I went to Corpus Christi State University in my lieu of being able to get my education into play. And but one of the main things that I feel that I bring into this plate is my desire and my heart, in my spirit, to be a difference in the community, because I believe that real progress stems out of the heart, it stems out of our spirit. And I think that if you're gifted with leadership and decision making, look at Ronald Reagan. He was a Hollywood actor by all God. And look at what he did. Why? Because he surrounded himself with brilliant people. So yes, that's what I bring to this table. Leadership and good decision making.
Would you commit to be a full-time county judge?
Absolutely.
Ms. Cross, what are your qualifications for county judge? And would you commit to be a full-time county judge?
Well, of course, that's why you do this, is because it wouldn't occur to me not to show up to work. That would be one. What was the first part? I'd commit. What was the first
What are your
part?
qualifications
my
for the
qualification-
position as a
my memory.
highest-ranking official in Hidalgo County?
My memory. No. Life is short. Life is short, and we need to go about this in a fun way. Everybody is so angry, and my qualifications, I have a bachelor's in business and communication. I have a master's in communication. I've owned my own business for longer than I care to say. I can make decisions. I even had a boyfriend tell me once, Jane, you can make a decision. And, making a decision, my dad used to say, back your judgment. Well, what if your judgment's bad? You make enough mistakes and it gets better. So you just go and you just plow through and hope everybody comes. And let me tell you, the county would be a lot more fun than it is now.
Thank you. Texas Proposition 2 passed by the state voters on November 2021. It allows for the county to issue bonds for notes and in finance for development and redevelopment of transportation projects, and to try to help unproductive or undeveloped or blighted areas. This financing tool, known as tax investment financing, previously could be used only by the cities. Now it can be used by the county. Do you have any transportation or infrastructure projects in mind to use as tax increment financing? If not, would you issue a news release before early voting to let people know what priorities you would favor?
Man, those are a lot of questions, Mr. Salinas, all in one. And
Are you familiar with the tax reinvestment
No,
zone?
I'm really not. And so for me to sit here and say that I'm familiar with that and I can count on this and that this is what I was going to do, you can't know everything. It's impossible. That's why you surround yourself, like Dr. Flores said, you surround yourself with people that are brilliant, because the more brilliant people you have around you, the better you look. So I'm not familiar with this, but of course, I'm sure the Commissioner's Court and the county judge want to use everything that's available to us to make our county better. Why? I mean, it would be ludicrous not to think that we would.
Thank you. Dr. Flores, would you use tax increment financing and bonds to try to do transportation or other projects in Hidalgo County? And so which project would they be?
Well, we've been talking about the veterans, right? And to me, I think that's like a very important population that we need to address. We need to address the elderly. My dad is 86 years old. He worked so hard all his life, and he cannot even have a provider because he has a couple of little houses. He doesn't have any, he's a widow. He doesn't have anybody to come and help him out because he's got those 3 or 4 little houses. I would really address the elderly. I would address the elderly in the sense that they not pay any property taxes. And these are the 2 concerns that I have. So I don't know if that's here or there, but that's a concern of mine.
Thank you. What role do you believe, Ms. Flores, the county judge plays in the immigration debate? And how would you involve yourself as county judge in that debate of immigration?
Well, I've heard it said in the statistics that according to the people that have migrated into the United States, that it would form like 10 to 12 states in the United States from just the people that have migrated here into the United States. I would say we go back to the policies that President Trump had, that cash and release is not working. So we need to go back to some of those mandates that President Trump had that were so effective that, that went haywire when we got a new administration. So.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. What role do you believe the county judge plays in the immigration debate? And how would you involve yourself as county judge in that debate?
Well, I don't know. I think the county judge right now has been meeting with the Catholic Charities, which I'm not real fond of. I think that they've been taking advantage of a lot of the young people that have come across. Nobody has really hard evidence, but you always hear these horror stories where they had you hear from anywhere from 5 to 20,000 kids that have just poof, disappeared. Where do they go? And so I think I would be really concerned about the immigration. We can go and make ourselves available, but I don't know if the county has, we can't go and, call out the National Guard and send them to the border because that's not our role. But I think that we could be helpful, and if they need help, that we could use our resources to back them up.
Thank you, Ms. Cross. As county judge, what plans would you have for bridging the digital divide? Would you back a government-led resource to use ARPA funds for that, or would you do a public-private partnership?
Okay, I missed the
For the digital divide, as county judge, what would you do as county judge to try to help Hidalgo County close that gap?
the digital divide.
Correct.
I am not sure what that is.
What would you do to provide more internet service within the rural areas of Hidalgo
Why
County?
didn't you just say that? I know what that is. There's a, right now, kids can't even go to the freaking library because in some of the schools because the libraries are shut down. They give you tablets, but some of the colonias or some of the subdivisions don't have internet connection. I mean, it's a big deal. Maybe we should go back to just maybe teaching without using internet as the base of teaching.
Dr. Flores, what would you do to try to help those areas without internet? What would you do to close that gap of internet issues? If we have an issue in Hidalgo County, because maybe we don't.
Oh, we do.
Well, I think we do. I myself grew up with the library. I didn't grow up with the internet and all this social media. And I still have a hard time till this day. If it wouldn't be for my daughter and all my little cronies around me, I don't know what I would do. But yes, it's a very important thing. It's really difficult because more technology has been developed in this side of since the 80s and on up the past 30 years. I mean, it's been like so massive that I don't think that we could ever go back. I really don't think we could ever go back. What would we do? Well, that's a very good question that I hadn't really considered, but it does need to be addressed somehow or another. I would probably get a lieu of people. Maybe I would even go to RGV, to their Masters in Business Administration, and say, hey, let's write a proposal. Find out. Help me out. How would we be able to handle this? I invite your help.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. March 2nd, you wake up. You're not the primary winner for the Republican Party. Do you commit to support Ms. Cross and campaign for her as the eventual nominee of the party?
Definitely.
Ms. Cross, March
Sure.
2nd, you wake up.
And I'll be, praise God.
And you commit to support Ms. Flores
I do.
as a nominee for Republican
Yes.
County Judge. Okay. Ms. Cross, we'll start with you. With closing remarks, you have a minute.
Okay, so I can just say anything.
You have a minute.
Thank you. I just want to thank everyone for doing this. This is the first one in a long line of these forums, and I know that it takes a lot of time for y'all to put it together. It takes our time. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for being our mediator. And Dr. Flores, thank you for coming. I just want to say how blessed I am. And as my last closing statement, I think that, as God wanted us to have a spirit of freedom and a spirit of knowledge, not a spirit of fear. And as I go out, I want to instill the spirit of freedom and not fear. I'm just so tired of being fearful. And I just think that we need to start being brave again and putting one foot forward and say, thank you, God, that I'm alive today. And thank you, God, because the sun's going to come up tomorrow.
Thank you, Ms. Cross. Closing statement, Dr. Flores.
Yes, I agree with Ms. Cross. Yes, I definitely do. I have a YouTube program called The Dr. S Show, and I did a show on the COVID fear factor because I believe that everything that was behind COVID was fear. Do you know that not even a couple of hours went throughout the day and it was put down by the WHO? The World Health Organization shut it down, and they told me, you put it back up, I'm going to fine you $10,000, and if you put it back up, you're going to go to jail. And I'm like, okay, talk about fear here. And if I would have just put the COVID factor, a hashtag on that, but no, I put fear factor because I wanted to be so adamant that was the problem behind COVID. So yeah, you're right. We need to get rid of fear so we can have love and joy and peace and happiness again. And God bless the county, God bless the state, God bless America.
Thank you, Dr. Flores. And Ms. Cross, thank you for being here.
Sure.
Dr. Knurk, thanks for putting this together in Futuro RGV. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, candidates. Thank you, JD. Thank you to our audience who is out there watching. And I gave all the candidates our brochure. We are holding a great number of candidate forums for the national, the state, and the local elections. At the national level, we're doing U.S. Congressional District 15, 34, and 28. At the state level, we are doing Texas Senate District 27, House District 37, and the State Board of Education District 2. And in Hidalgo County, we're doing the Judge Forum, we're doing the District Attorney Forum, and we are doing Hidalgo County Commissioner District 2 and 4, and we're also doing the Hidalgo County Democratic chairs and Republican chairs. All of these forums are for Republican candidates and Democrat candidates. And right now, there is a question about the mail-in ballots. One of our Futura RGV board members is also a judge or a lawyer who has worked extensively on this. Laurel McLeish, would you like to add a few comments on that?
Oh, cool.
You'll have to come up here with.
Yes, I'll try to.
Okay. As I say, Laurel McLeish is one of our Futura RGV board members, and we're very happy to have her legal expertise. So,
Hi, just some quick information. First of all, the last day to register to vote is coming up soon. It is January 31st. The county voter administrator is going to be sending out the new voter registration cards in the next few days. Anyone with any questions as to whether they are registered to vote can find it online at the Hidalgo County, or actually any county's webpage, or they can contact the election administrators. For those who are going to be away from the county on election day and on early voting, that are sick or disabled, expected to give birth within 3 weeks, either before the election or after election day, 65 years of age or older, or that are confined in jail or other civil commitment, may apply for an absentee ballot. The last day to apply for an absentee ballot is February 18th. Anytime after that, you will not be able to receive one. They are must be returned to the county election office no later than March 3rd, only if they have been postmarked by 7 o'clock on election day, March 1st. I would not recommend waiting until that long to get them back. It's very important. JD announced what one of the new laws is, and that is that you have to put either your last four numbers of your Social Security number or your driver's license number on the application, and then also on the return envelope. Thank you.
Okay, our Futura RGV message tonight is be an informed voter, exercise your duty, exercise your right, and exercise your privilege to help us keep a strong democracy. And with that, I say thank you and good night.